let's see. Wait, can you start that over again? Hold on, just like all brain fart. Alright, so like just the other day, like me and my friends were like talking about going to a music festival, and like I was in job of buying the tickets, and like I kind of lagged on it, and I was like, alright, I'm gonna get them the next day or today or whatever, and I never did, and it ended up the festival ended up being sold out. So like all my friends are pissed at me. So with that being said, I totally agree with the quote by Charlie Chen, waiting for tomorrow is a waste of today. I'm going to be giving you 3 examples of where I waited, and for me waiting for the next day, I ended up like being, like it didn't work out, and I just ended up messing up. And yeah. Right, my first story is like, I was in 8th grade, there's this girl I thought that was cute, and her name was Kareen, and like school dance was coming up, and like, I don't know, I didn't have the balls to ask her out to the dance, and I was like, in my head I was like, I'm gonna ask her the next day or today or whatever, and I never did. So for me not asking her, Joey, he grew the balls and he asked her, and like he ended up taking Kareen to the dance, and like, yeah, that was pretty sad. So that was me messing up, waiting. And then the second story I have is where I was waiting to study for my Spanish exam. Like, I knew I had an exam, but like I never studied. Like I don't know why. Like, you know, like, dude, you gotta study, bro, or else you're gonna fail. But I never studied, so like test day came, and like, yeah, I only knew like 50% of the material, and that was all because like I waited to study last minute, like the night before, and learned my lesson again. And then last one, my last example of me waiting like for tomorrow is when I had to pay a ticket I got when I graduated high school. You know, I just got a BMW, you know, fast car, so I always had it on sport, and like, always like cruising with my friends, so I was going like 60 or 70 and like 40, 45, and the cop gave me a pretty fat ticket, and then like, I went to court, you know, and then, you know, you get the tickets like $400 or $500, and then, yeah, I went to court, and the judge told me, you have like 2 or 3 months or whatever to pay it. And like, I never paid it, like, I was like, oh, I will pay it that day or that day or that day. Never paid it, and then I had to go to court, and the cop's like, hey, so you got the money? And I was like, nah, I don't, like, you know? And, so for me waiting, he's all like, he asked me, am I a student? And thank God he asked me that. I was like, yeah, I'm a student. And then he's like, all right, I'll make you pay the ticket, and then I'll make you pay, I'll do community service. And I was like, damn. And then he gave me like 80 hours of community service. And like for sure, I learned my lesson, like, dude, don't wait like last minute to do things, like get it done today. So in conclusion, don't waste your time waiting for things, just get it done. Thank you. Feel way better.
Yeah, I wish I got 200 hours.
All right, well, you had that little hesitation bump at the beginning. That was problematic, but your thesis was clear once you got started, and there was a little bit of a preview, although it really is just an indicator that there are going to be some examples that you're going to be sharing with us. I thought that the examples developed pretty well. You had some nice detail on a couple of points. Maybe you might want to be a little careful about some of the vulgarity, but I appreciate the frankness with which you were speaking sometimes. We would have used a different phrase in my day about the lacking the testicles to ask, that sort of thing. I remember a phrase, but I can't share it right now. It's just completely inappropriate.
Anything that goes in your
Yeah,
mind.
I know. And that's what happens sometimes. You just say, let me get something in my head, and I'll say that. And maybe you should think, hesitate a half second and say, there's another way to say this, you know. You have the guts to go ahead and ask or something like that. Because it's a, you know, you want to be careful about the audience.
Yeah.
So, and I understand you're trying to speak naturally and confidently the way that you normally do. But at the same time, you got to remember that you're talking to a larger group, a variety of people, and so you got to be audience-centered about these sorts of things. The pacing is okay. One of the things that we didn't talk about a lot when we were discussing the rate at which people speak are vocalized pauses. And like is one of those kinds of phrases that people sometimes say, and you've got a couple of those that you're doing. And the other ones, I did not hear you say this one particularly, you know. You were not doing that one, but that's just another example of something that fits in that category where you want to say something to fill in the blank space to get you to the next part of the sentence, and you have a couple of those things that you do. You need to look up a little bit more. You have a tendency to look down. It's like you're talking in front of us, you're not talking to us. And you're kind of thinking to yourself, and once in a while you look up, but most of the time it's kind of like, I'm thinking to myself, I'm looking down here, I'm talking about this thing, and you know, I'm in front of people and I'm talking, but you're not really engaging with the audience, and you need to do that more. All right? And a couple of times it sounds like you're kind of giving up on sentences. There's a little bit of hesitation, but for the most part, it flows pretty smoothly. All right. And I thought you seemed engaged in what you were talking about, and I thought you had, you know, fun examples to illustrate the point. So there's a lot of good stuff in the speech, but a few obvious things that when you watch the video, you'll say, I know, I can see exactly what I'm doing here. You'll be able to pick those out.
Yeah.
All right.